Let's do this.
Tonight's guest is courtesy of the U.S. Bigfoot Patrol. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to report it to them, please call them at 865-383-0778.
My Bigfoot sighting happened in 1971. We had gone camping. My family loved the outdoors. We would go to the lake. We would go pretty much everywhere and camp. There was one particular time we had gone to the Great Smoky Mountains. I had just turned 8 years old, and we were going camping for the weekend. We drove down as normal, and we ended up going kind of out of the way in an area called Cades Cove. And I remember driving in there with my family, and we had finally reached a campsite that I can't remember ever being to before. When we got there, we got out, got our stuff unpacked, got everything ready. It was late afternoon, and there were a few other families there, again with some kids. There was a young kid my age, approximately, and the rest were girls, probably ranging 12, 13 years old as the oldest. And after we started talking to everyone, and the kids were playing, we were playing everything from hide and go seek to passing football. And a lot of the families were cooking out, mine included. And we started passing football out in the campground area. The campground area was surrounded by forest. We had timber everywhere, and we were on a little campground ledge, I guess. And if you walked in one direction, you would go down an embankment and go on down into the timber. And we were passing football, and it was an orange football, possibly a UT football, had white circles on either end of it. And we'd probably been passing, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And one of the girls threw it completely over my head, and it went into the timber. And as an 8-year-old, I darted after it, since I was the one who missed the ball. And I remember going down the embankment looking for it. It was, I don't know what time of the evening it was, but it was starting to get dusky. So lighting wasn't optimum for us to keep doing that. I walked around down there, and I finally saw the football lodged up in some brush against a tree that had fallen over, and I grabbed the ball, and I looked up, and the hill continues going downward on an embankment, and I guess it was around 25 feet away from me, somewhere in that area. I looked up, and I saw what looked like a right shoulder of those big wooden statues you would see in any tourist area, Gatlinburg, or whatever, the big wooden statues. And the first thought that hit my mind was that this must be a place for us to explore later. So that was kind of that thought process. And it stepped out from behind a tree, And when it moved laterally, and the first thing that came to my mind was the size of it. I think that's the first thing anyone, other than the shock of seeing something like that, would notice is the exact size of these things are enormous. When he stepped out, he looked at me, and he had the conical shaped head, and he had gray on his chest. I don't know if that was due to his age or what coloring or what have you, but he was a little gray. To the best of my memory, I would estimate he's probably 8 feet in height. Just enormous. The arms did hang down on either side below the knee, and we sat there. I couldn't move. I don't know if it was just from pure shock or whatever, but I was unable to move at all. Couldn't scream, couldn't do anything. Completely frozen, looking at this thing in awe. And we stared at each other for what seemed like a long time, probably in reality 4 or 5 seconds. He turned his head to the right and looked at me, and then moved it back into its normal position and bolted off behind the tree and was gone. The speed that this thing moved is just, it almost disappeared, but it's that quick. And at that point, I took off as fast as an 8-year-old could run back into the campground screaming, King Kong is in the woods here. Had no idea anything at that age about a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch at all. Didn't know anything about him. King Kong was the only thing I could actually compare it to. And they went to the wood line and down in there and looked and said that they had probably seen a bear. And I said, this wasn't a bear, it was King Kong. So my father talked to me later after I calmed down a bit and wanted to know in detail, what did you see? And I explained to him what I saw. And he could see that it wasn't a bear just due to my expression. I've seen bears off and on around home, especially in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area. So, I was very familiar with what a bear, as anyone else is, what they look like. And this was a bear. And I remember that the night, I couldn't really sleep well. It was a terrifying experience for an 8-year-old, because you at that age do not know at that point what to believe and what not to believe. So it would mess with anyone, in my opinion, that would have an encounter with one of these creatures at all. It does something to you that you can't even really explain, but it just changes your thought process and how you feel about things, I guess. So through the years, I even slept with a Red Ryder BB gun when I was younger, and a Red Ryder loaded in bed with me, just for obviously psychological reasons. An 8-year-old would take a BB gun to bed with them, but that's basically what happened there. Through the years, my father and I would talk about this from time to time, and he always told me to this yourself. Don't really let anyone else know these things, what you saw. And I did. My father passed away when I just turned 17 years old, And so I, made a pact that I wouldn't mention it. So through the years, I would always try to keep up with it as much as possible with what was going on. The Leonard Nimoy show, what was that, In Search Of, I believe, had a segment. Then I started really reading and trying to find out what these things are. And then I read about a case with a young guy named Dennis Martin, which ironically happened in the same area that I was in when this encounter happened to me. And he and I would have been the same age, actually. This happened 2 years prior, approximately 2 years prior to what happened to him. That was 2 years earlier. And since then, I always wondered if what I saw was the one, or if they run in a clan. I have no idea, but this was the one that got him, if that's actually what was responsible for his disappearance. So, you go through life knowing this, and you keep it inside, as the majority of people do. They don't report. They keep it inside, and for fear of ridicule or what have you. Your job, what have you. You keep that inside. And through the years, I did that. And this has been over a year ago. A feed popped up on my YouTube channel, How to Hunt, Steve Isdell. And I'd watched that for 2 or 3 months and decided, I feel like just letting this out. That seemed like a very... And I finally, a day or two after I'd sent it, and that started the, I guess, I don't know if you would call it healing or what have you, but it started my journey to heal, or journey to find out what these things actually are. There's and I found out in the Bigfoot community, whatever you want to call it, there's different factions. You've got one group that believes they're an ape. You got so many different beliefs that are going in there, and the problem is you can't get them as a group to work together for whatever reason, and that's just my opinion of it, though. So through the years, after going through this, anytime I would be in the timber, in the woods, you're on totally high alert. Any noise that's out of the normal noise, from a squirrel running through the leaves, or you see a deer, whatever, any noise or anything, it highlights your senses. You're on guard. And I believe that all of us have some sort of ability built into us to sense when something's not right, or there's a fear factor involved in that. And every time I've been in the woods, from that encounter to present, I'm always on high alert. You never know what's out there after seeing one of these. You're always wondering, if one of these things are around or what have you. But the size and the speed that my memory has embedded in it of this encounter, it could have easily gotten me and been gone in seconds, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Nothing. And these things are really fast. The one I saw was huge. It's quick, and definitely something that would would cause you to have nightmares over. And through the years, that's happened as well. And they come and go at very different times. I don't know what would cause them, when they come. It doesn't matter, but the dream is pretty much the same every time. You in the dream, I'm over its shoulder, and it's running through the forest with me. And in the dream, I can almost physically feel myself bouncing off of its shoulder as it runs. And it's really crazy. My wife has even told me, I didn't know this until recently, that when I'm having one of these dreams, I start talking, moving. So there you go. It does mess with you psychologically, and that's you can imagine anyone that would have an encounter. I think all of us, the majority of us, has the same effect on us. So since then, in the last year, I've made some friends in the community, telling them about my encounter, what had happened, to get feedback on what they know about these creatures. And I've one person in particular, Mateo Argalera, I can't pronounce his last name right now, but the website's Modern Explorer. Mateo's in Colorado. They do a lot of going out into the timber and seeing what what evidence they can find. And Mateo's got quite a bit of evidence. So we, at that point, formed a group, and we're going out in the spring to do an expedition for about a week. So this has really opened me up now to wanting to find out what these creatures are. They're real. It's such I guess you would call it a mainstream science. The majority of the scientists would consider it suicide for their career to even give a second look at any of the evidence. And the ones who have actually gotten evidence, Scott Carpenter, Melba Ketchum, that group in the Sasquatch Genome Project captured some really, really strong DNA evidence, which has been credited and discredited in peer reviews. And so there seems to be some unknown force stopping people from doing and agreeing with the evidence at hand. You pick a direction and take it from there and go with it. So that's what we're doing now. I live near a trail that my wife and I go walking on. We ride our bikes on, and every time we're on that trail, I don't have the feeling once around, but I'm always looking and listening for anything out of the ordinary when we're on it. You'll always have that after an encounter. I think everyone that's encountered one of these beings definitely maintain that outlook when they're in a position that one of these creatures could be near them. So I haven't had an encounter since then. That's 57 now, so that's been 49 years ago that my encounter happened. And it still affects you psychologically and emotionally today. So it's with you the rest of your life. So that's my encounter, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Well, that's it for tonight's show. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let us know. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
this could happen to me. I didn't know anything about radon. But let me tell you, it's very real.
Get a free radon test kit at utahradon.org. That's utahradon.org.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. I'm ready for another episode of my Bigfoot sighting. All right then, let's do this.
I won't do anything. There's idiots here. Utah drivers suck. They won't even know if I do that. They'll just get mad. Get a little bit of road rage.
My Bigfoot sighting. My brother, he's disabled in a wheelchair, and we found this little campsite that, we've been there a couple times, had some pretty good luck with deer. And so we pulled down in there and set up camp. I started to get the tent set up, and I noticed down at the end of the trail there that these deer were running back and forth through the opening. So I thought, well, I'll take advantage of this. So I'll just want to work my way down there and see if we can't, pick one or two of them. So I started off. I told him, I said, I'm heading down there, so keep an eye open just in case something runs through. And it was probably about a 400-yard shot I was to take one. So I decided that I'd work my way back up there as close as I could to get a good shot. And as I worked my way through these poles, the thickets, and I stayed in the trees so that nobody seen me, nothing could see me. And then I got up to probably about 20 foot. There's this little big old giant log laying there, a big little tree. And I decided I'd go ahead and belly crawl up to it. So I laid down on the ground and I worked my way up to that log as quiet as I could possibly be. And got, I don't know, I rolled up on top of that log, I threw that rifle up, and I put my sights on the deer that was there. And as I was, I didn't notice the Bigfoot at first, but it was sitting right there on a log, a big tree, old dead tree. It was sitting there, and it was kind of, gray. It was a light gray Bigfoot, and it had like a blue tint where the sun shining through the air, kind of a blue tint around it. And it was deer and grass. And all of a sudden the deer noticed me, looked over and noticed me, and then it looked over and noticed me. Our eyes met. I mean, just for that little seconds, our eyes had met. And I was probably about, 20, 30 feet away from it. I wasn't very far at all. It was open, clear opening. So I had a good visual on her, and I noticed that it was a female because her breasts were, protruding. But I thought it was kind of odd, that she was feeding the deer, because I heard all these other stories about how they kill the deer and eat the deer. But I don't know if she was trying to bait it in or what, but she had a handful of grass. Anyway, she turned and looked at me, and her eyes just got huge. I mean, they were just giant, dark brown eyes, from what I could tell. And I just went on ahead and I rolled back over onto the ground, because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I said, no, this can't be right, So I went on ahead and laid there, and I could hear the deer hopping off in one direction, and I could hear the Bigfoot running the other direction. through the trees. And when I thought it was clear enough, I went on ahead and I got up off the ground and walked out into the opening in the meadow there. And as I was walking down through the meadow, I looked over to the left of me, and there she was standing right there by this great big stump. So I figured she'd probably be about 7 foot, somewhere around 600 pounds, I'd say. And she's just standing there watching me as I was walking through the meadow. I just went on ahead and I was headed back to the camp, and I walked on back to the camp. And I didn't have no trouble with them. I had no fear of them for some reason. I don't know why, but I didn't fear her. I just figured she wasn't going to harm me. So then I went on ahead and I walked back to camp and went up to my brother. I told him what had happened, what I'd seen. And he was kind of like disbelief. I was in disbelief too. I couldn't believe it. I'd seen her 2 times. So we got to camp there, and went on ahead and I threw the camp up. I don't know why I even did that, because I wasn't afraid of them. So I just threw the camp up, and we went on ahead and we camped there. Well, I would say a little later in the evening, I hear this noise and little grunts. And so I looked up through my tent, the screen in my tent. I looked out through there towards the water hole. And there was a tall, skinny Bigfoot. I would say he was probably about 8 to 9 foot, but he was slender. He wasn't heavy like most of them, And he was sitting there peeking around this tree at the tent. I thought, no, this just can't be right. This it's just something. There's something wrong here, because I couldn't believe I seen. This was another one. And then I heard something in behind my tent. So I looked through the vent, and I had a larger one.
Oh, sleeping.
Was sitting there standing. He's trying to hide like behind a tree. I could see his shoulders sticking out on both sides of the tree. And I mean, it was a big tree. So he had to be a huge Bigfoot. And I went on ahead and I said, no, that's it. I'm getting up out of this tent and go sleeping. My brother was sleeping in the truck. I said, now I'm going to go ahead and climb in the truck, because I don't want nothing to deal with him. So I went and told my brother, I said, scoot over, I'm jumping in too. And he had asked me why, and I told him, I said, there's 2 Bigfoots out there by the tent, by the water hole. I don't know if they come in to get a drink or what, but I went ahead and climbed in the truck. Still, for some reason, I didn't fear them. I didn't think they were going to harm us or anything. And I went on ahead and I fell asleep in the truck. Well, the next morning, I got up. It didn't bother me at all. They didn't come over and throw nothing at us. They didn't do any of that stuff. So in the morning, I went over to the water hole, and I looked down in the mud there. I could see where his foot, one of the skinny one's footprint, where his skinny footprint, where his footprint was. And then I noticed that you could see the hair from his leg where he knelt down to get a drink of water. So you could see the knee and the hair and the foot. So I went and I got my brother. I said, God, and I said, here. So you're going to go out there and you're going to look and see that this my footprint that I found. And he said, oh, okay, and I grabbed the wheelchair and I shoved him out to that water hole. And I said, see, look down there. I said, there's the proof. So after that, he believed it, after he seen that footprint.
This year, make a resolution to get the best deal on your new Mazda. It's easy. Just visit Tim Dowling Mazda Murray. Yes, Murray, and get 0.9% on almost any new Mazda CX model. That's practically zero for your new Mazda. Get that 0.9% on a new 2025 Mazda CX-50 or Mazda CX-5 or even the Mazda CX-90. Get in today before someone else drives away in your new Mazda. Tim Dowling Mazda Murray. 0.9% available for 36 months. Not available on 2025 Mazda CX-50 hybrid. Racing. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for complete details.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Granger. With over a million industrial grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
This year, make a resolution to get the best deal on your new Mazda. It's easy. Just visit Tim Dowling Mazda Murray. Yes, Murray, and get 0.9% on almost any new Mazda CX model. That's practically zero for your new Mazda. Get that 0.9% on a new 2025 Mazda CX-50 or Mazda CX-5 or even the Mazda CX-90. Get in today before someone else drives away in your new Mazda. Tim Dowling Mazda Murray. 0.9% available for 36 months. Not available on 2025 Mazda CX-50 hybrid. Racing. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for
Could have
complete details.
asked me to change lanes or something.
Well,
Honk a horn.
so that's when I decided that, well, I decided I was going ahead and hunt. So I went on ahead and I walked on the other side of the opening, the meadow. And I was hunting through there through the holes over on that side. And I was walking through and I ran across this mass of branches and trees, you know, and they were all intertwined and everything. So I said, I can get through there. So I went on ahead and walked along it. It was probably about 20 foot long lengthwise. I walked around to the front and it was kind of somebody made a dome, kind of like, and it was like about 7 foot tall and, you know, about 8 foot wide. I thought,
Okay,
man, I
after
guess
this one,
that's
I'm
where
gonna turn it off.
Bigfoot's been sleeping. Then I looked down inside there, and all I could see was just the limbs and stuff that laying down the ground, like for bedding. And I said, well, I'm gonna get out of here. So I went on ahead and I walked back to the camp because I didn't want to bother them anymore. I didn't want to hag them on or anything. So I walked back to camp and I got my brother. I said, well, we're taking off. I said, we're gonna go camp up somewhere else because Bigfoot's home is out there. I said, we don't need to be camping here. I don't need no trouble. So I tore down the tent and threw it in the truck, and we took off to another spot where we usually hunt. And I've been hunting for years, you know, and I know the difference between a bear and a Bigfoot. I've had a bear walk right out from underneath my feet before, and I know what they look like. I know in the woods. And this was no bear. I had a beautiful, clear, opening, sunny day, and it was sitting right there in the open. So there's no mistaking that it was Bigfoot or not. I could almost reach out and touch it. That's how close I was. And most people don't think you can sneak up on them. For some reason, I was able to. I was pretty quiet, so I've been able to walk up to deer and touch them on the head, you know, and before they notice me. So I don't know. I'm pretty quiet, and I think that's about all I have.
My Bigfoot sighting began with what my husband and I witnessed on June of 2019. So I'll start with prefacing. Each year I visit my dad's cabin in Kenai Peninsula in Alaska. And this particular summer, my family and I were out fishing on Rainbow Lake. It's outside of Sterling, Alaska. So my husband and we had taken my dad's canoe and we were going around this bend. I was sight casting on some rainbow trout with my fly rod, We didn't have anyone with us except him and I. We weren't planning on being out long. My dad wasn't too far away, but he was out of sight for us. And for those that don't know, Rainbow Lake is probably about 30 miles down a logging road. So it's out in pretty much remote Alaska. You don't have any cell phone reception, anything like that. So I don't ever think of taking my phone or anything with me. So as we're canoeing, we come around this corner of the lake. It's a pretty large bend where everyone else is out of sight once you go around this bend. And I did notice him splashing around the bank. And as I go to look, I noticed this very large otter just playing on the bank. Thought that was pretty interesting. We don't have many large otters of that size here in Texas where I live. So I draw my attention to it. I tell my husband, "Oh, go up to the otter. Go closer to the bank. I want to investigate." So anyways, the otter bounces into the water shortly after we get closer. Probably about, I wouldn't say about 10 yards away from the bank at this point. Well, anyways, it wasn't long after that I heard what I now know as rocks that were bouncing off of the trees. It was about 40 yards from us and about 10 from where the otter had initially disappeared. I was initially thinking maybe it was other family of otters that were in the bush or the brush or the trees that were making those noises. It was fairly loud knocking though. Other than that, I wasn't thinking anything of it. I told my husband to follow the racket, hoping maybe we would see another animal encounter, more otters, whatever. But it was in that time when the trees started moving so vigorously. The best way I can explain it is in that moment, like if you're watching Jurassic Park, the trees move like so voraciously, you know the T-Rex is about to come out. Well, at this point, I thought maybe it was a very large moose because that can easily happen out there, or maybe a black bear or brown bear. Because it was like a large storm was passing through. The trees were it was incredible. But it wasn't a moose or a bear that came through. Instead, it was a bipedal, or what I thought at the time was a large man. They stepped through the clearing of these bushes or these trees. He grabbed 2 trees by their trunks and shook it with so much vigor it startled me. I actually looked at my husband and I told him, "What in the world is this psycho doing?" I thought it was a human messing with us. First off, how would a human get into this neck of the woods without a canoe or something? Also, why are they trying to intimidate us like this? I was totally aghast. But then at that moment, the creature took a few quick steps out of the cottonwood trees and was gone, just disappeared. So woods are very thick, and then right next to that, it's completely clear where the brush and the trees have laid over. This beast or this person or this creature took probably 3 very large steps and was gone. It didn't duck away, nothing. I did not see where he went. He was just gone. It was that moment I knew it wasn't just a man. The steps it took were about 5 foot in length. I knew I would never be able to get this off my mind, and I'm very interested and intrigued in this, and I knew the human brain, like how it works. I would eventually convince myself what I saw wasn't what I saw. So I told my husband, "Take me to the bank. I need to check this out." Like when I recall this story, people are like, "Why you were scared? Like, why did you do that?" And I said, I know I would never be able to forget about it. So anyways, me and my husband go up to the bank. And just to clarify, Alaska, I guess, terrain is not something that you would see every day, whether you live in Texas or Washington or the East Coast, anything like that. It's very different. So what looks like solid ground, you can easily sink up to your thighs. And that was in the case of this. So we step onto the bank. I am only 5'4". I immediately sink to my knees. My husband's 5'11". He was up to mid-calf. And as we're walking around, we're comparing these trees that this creature, this bipedal, had grabbed with his hands and shaken. It was so much force that I could see it from 20 yards away or 10 yards or however far I was whenever I did see him. There's no way I could even shake these trees. I grabbed it and I tried shaking with all my might. I couldn't, especially with one hand. My husband's not a small guy, but he's not a large guy. He couldn't either. And at that point, I tried imitating the run that I had seen, the the 5-foot stride, and there was absolutely no way. Not only would I have to jump over logs, but it was just too mushy of marsh. It would just swallow you up. So I took a bunch of pictures and actually went back the following year. I couldn't see anything. There were such big imprints in the ground. It could be from moose, it could be from bear, it could be from anything. It's not flat ground or anything like that. So I couldn't see any footprint or anything. But me and my husband got back in our canoe when we went back to land. I didn't tell anyone about it because I knew, like, either they're gonna judge me, they're gonna think I'm crazy, they think I was making it up. But I did talk to my dad, who has had some encounters in his life. He has never seen anything, but he's a very big outdoorsman. We call him Mountain Man because he's been to places in like Colorado where most people you can't even access except by foot, not by machine or anything. And he's recalled to me these big human-like footprints in the snow when he's like out cougar hunting or mountain lion hunting. And there was no pictures or digital photos back then, but he recalled to me the size of them. And so I felt comfortable telling him about this encounter. And the first thing he said was, well, was it a bear? And I said, no, this man or this creature was, I would say, easily 7 foot, 8 foot tall. I couldn't get a very clear picture of him, but the best way I could describe it is a very large man in an ape suit, like just dark brown. I couldn't see the details of the coat, but I couldn't see the details of like the coat length, but it was, I would say, finger length hair. That's why I thought it was someone just messing with us in a suit. But you know the difference between a bear. Bears can't just grab a branch like with both hands and then shake it and then run like large strides. And he had no hump in his back. He wasn't crouched over. He was extremely erect, like a human would run, with very long arms, just like you would see in the videos or the footage that people have published. So yeah, he believed me, and we actually went back to the exact same spot the next year. And I explained everything to him and showed him where it was. It didn't look much different. I took photos, so I'd always have them. And so, yeah, it's really stuck with me.
Well, that's it for tonight's show. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let us know. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
This is where I'm gonna go. Bye, guys. Have a good night. Bye, everyone that's on here.